Yo, I'm just waiting for more people to come in. You can hear me okay, yeah? Cool. Not many people jumping on, so I'll just give it 5-10 minutes and then see if more people jump on. But if not, I'll just run through it, what I was going to talk about anyway. I accidentally set the stream to private and I was sitting here for like 5 minutes wondering what was going on. It is 6:34. I'll give it till 6:40 and then I'm going to run through it. All right. Is anyone there? How many people do we have? It says 6 on here. If you're there, can you type in the chat? Yo, Kyle. I don't know how to say the other guy's name. Goodness. Goodness. Looking forward to your analysis. Thanks, man. It's not going to be too different from Friday, considering the daily time frame hasn't moved that much, but it's done some interesting stuff. Linky, hey. Okay, it says we've got 7 people. I did say I'll start in 3 minutes, but screw it. Let's just get on with it. Okay. Going to start with Bitcoin, and I've left all the markup that I had from Friday. So if you haven't seen Friday's stream, then it's on the channel and you can go back and look at that. If you were here, I'm going to run through it basically just to reiterate some points, I'm not going to do the markup again. I will do fresh markup every week from every Monday, but considering it's only been a few days, there's no point running through it all again. But just to run through it all, this was the high, the previous all-time high, which got tested and it got broken. And this could be a signal from the market, or it could just be a fake out. We don't really know yet. But basically, this cluster here is the buying that took price above the all-time high. So there's a lot of orders in this level to continue this overall trend. And then just zooming in and just making this a little bit bigger, as we can see, as price dropped down and then tested this support here, it created a range. I'm going to just mark it a little bit differently, actually, just to differentiate the level of support and the range I want to talk about. But I just can't remember where those horizontal rays are. Oops. Where are they? That was with the lines, isn't it? That's why. Okay. So there is our range. There, so we have price comes down, retraces a little bit, and then pushes down to test the bottom of this support, max pain level. And then on a retest of this lower high, of this retrace high, price pushes up, and again, similar to this here, it can't sustain the move and then retraces back down into the range, bounces off the mid-range, pushes back higher, and then it wicks back down into the range and then starts falling. And we spoke about this about 3 days ago, where price was kind of in the middle of the range. And I said it was most likely going to come down to the bottom of the range, test it, bounce back up one more time, put in a lower high, which is what I want to talk about in this video, puts in a lower high before dropping back down to this sort of 92 to 94K area. And that's kind of where I'll be looking for longs. I'll be looking for a reversal somewhere down there. But I do believe that, considering the behavior of Bitcoin, it's probably going to wick it, probably coming down a little bit more, similar to how it's wicked this range here. So that's kind of like the higher time frame view. And then obviously, again, as we spoke about on Friday, price drops down and has this downtrend like so, bases. And then at this high, if you're looking at continuations for this trend, you'd look for the downtrend, a retrace, comes back down, puts in a double bottom, which we can see in hindsight. But on a retest of this level, you can see what you would expect is for price to drop. But on the second time, price rips through. And this then creates this lovely little zone. Let me just... this little zone here, and as you can see, rips back up and continues the trend. That for me is the deepest retrace level if we're going to have another bullish trend. If this is going to rip to the upside, it all kind of stems from this level. This is kind of now the last line in the sand for longs, for people who are bullish. If it drops below this level, it's a change in market structure, and we'd then be looking... if it can't push any higher and creates a series of lows, we'd be looking for continuation short. But as I've said before, I'm a bull tard, and we are overall in a higher time frame bull market still, until we start losing levels like this. So until that point, I'm looking at this level for longs, but I won't be looking for a bounce to go long from. I'll be looking for reversal pattern, maybe like the first low to spike, and then we get a higher low, followed by a higher high, another higher low, and then on that next higher high is when I'll be looking. You may have seen this kind of W pattern form at the bottom of swings, and it's kind of what I'm looking for around here, basically. And I've mentioned on my channel, if you go on the YouTube channel and look at my price action trading strategy, for intermediates, that's the kind of thing I'm looking for. So we have our daily time frame view. We kind of want to see what it's going to do on this time frame to dictate what we look for on lower time frames. So if I'm going to look for H4 now, just to kind of get a little bit more price action, get a little bit more of a viewpoint. So again, I'm just going to mark, I'll just get rid of this shit. This support here. So this is kind of the mid-range of this daily time frame. And what I've done, I've marked not this bottom wick, but the candle next to it, just for kind of aesthetics. But as you can see, it's bounces around the middle of the range before dropping to the bottom of the range, as we talked about on Friday. If I do just mark out that big low, so we had this big trend, and this is where price found some support before putting in a high, even though it didn't actually mean anything. It built a high from this point. This was the low before this high, so it's a key level. It is also the sell-off which broke all of this junk here, and similar to this low here, price drops down, bounces from support, and it's from this buying here that created this new high. So price pushes up, drops down as a retrace, collects itself for a moment, and then pushes back up. And from this point here, that price breaks this high here. So that's a key level. Therefore, that's a key level. And then, therefore, we're now looking at this sell-off to be our next key level. And again, I'm just marking the extreme of it. It is going to have a bit more price action on the lower time frames. But this is essentially a supply zone. It's where price rallies, it bases, and then it drops. And then it's from this sell-off that new lows are then formed. So this is what I would consider the deepest retrace level. We also have, at this point here, again, that's the extreme of the level. It drops down, breaks this support, retraces, and then from this sell-off is where we create the lows. But we're going to have to look down to H1 to kind of see. And in these kind of instances, we can see this trend all the way from this point up here. This is where the sell-off starts to create the new low. So that's our trend, and then, or that's our swing rather. So there are two major levels of interest for me, and I always look for the deepest level possible, particularly on reversals, and particularly when the price action is choppy like this and it's going sideways a lot. I would always look to the deepest level because you'll always find them in the extremes of the range again. So let's drop down to H1, and I'll lose my marking. I need to talk to the guys at Watt about that, who do sponsor this video. So make sure you click the link in the description to sign up to them. That'll help me out. But, you know, if you don't want to, you don't want to. I just won't be your friend. So that's the high, and you can see this double or triple top kind of thing that's been made. But that's the high I was just talking about on H4 that created this big sell-off. Oh, no, it wasn't. It was this one here. Sorry. This one is our key one. Therefore, at this low, we can trace back what is important and what is not. And we have a really clean range just above that. And if you remember from my stream on Friday, I said if you've got ranges at or around key levels of support or resistance, they're really nice areas to trade. And this is very typical of what happens. You get the trend to the downside, you get the range, the push up and the fake out, and then the momentum back into the range. It should not do that if it's going to be bullish. It should continue to the upside, but it doesn't. It's going to continue the trend. So if I just get rid of that range, you can see this little cluster here. So price has dropped, retraced, and then dropped again. So it's from this sell-off here, and I'll just zoom in on that so you can see it a bit more cleanly. So this sell-off here that created this low and broke this level, and it hasn't yet been revisited. So for me, this is all of this price action here, here, and so far here is all like a chain, and the beginning of that chain is this level here. Okay, so for me, anything you see when that happens, when it's all bouncing off this level, and the whole level really, I've just marked the extreme, the whole level is like that. And you can see we've had one bounce of it already and it's dropped down. But like I said, now we've got the extreme of the level, which is still intact. And you can tend to find that with supply and demand trading, you can tend to see that the top of, or the closest extreme of a level can get bounced from, and then continuation of the trend. But usually the extreme of the level, particularly in a choppy ranging environment like we've got now, will be tested. So I think if you're looking for short continuations, I wouldn't look to touch anything down here personally. We do have this level again that we're kind of coming into, but it's all a reaction to this, and it's all a reaction to this. So it's not really that significant, because this is where the actual sell-off happened. If the price action was a bit cleaner, if it didn't have all of this and didn't have all of this, and it was trending hard and it was retracing hard, I'd probably look for a quicker continuation. But considering the environment, considering the volume and everything, it makes more sense for me to look closer to 105,000 for a short. And what I'd be doing is looking, particularly in this environment again, for a reversal pattern where it's kind of like what I just said with the W. It's the opposite. It's like an M. So we have a push up, a retrace low, another push up, and then a lower low before maybe putting in a lower high. And then once we see a lower low, you could look to short that with your stop above the range there, and then you could get in quite tight with a target in mind of probably what was 92 to 94,000. So you could probably get like a 4-hour trade out of that potentially down to that daily time frame level. So yeah, that's kind of my view on Bitcoin. That's kind of what I'd be looking to do to go short. If I just jump back onto H4. Yeah, that's kind of a nice level, because again, it's in the middle of this daily range. And if I just get rid of some of this, you'll be able to see, if we kind of visually do the middle of the range, so these are kind of equal halves, you can see this level is sitting really nicely, drops down to the middle and acts as an SR flip. So it's got that as confluence. If you're bullish, oh man, I lost all of that. I need to talk to those guys. If you're bullish, let's just draw that again, that level there, and this level down here. Why has it done that? Okay. If you're bullish, in the same way that I said that level at 92K was the last line of defense for support on the daily time frame, this would act as kind of the last line of defense for bears. So instead of having that M pattern, what you might get is something like that, and then a higher high, a series of higher lows and higher highs that you kind of have to really watch out for, because this is usually a trap I've found with this type of pattern. And then it may indeed go a little bit higher to something like up here, or the ultimate max pain level, in my opinion, is this one here. But somewhere between those levels, it may even just rip above this and then produce the M pattern somewhere up there, the reversal pattern. But I would wait for as long as possible to get a retrace that looks exhausted and then starts to show signs of breaking down again. And then, as I said, that ultimate, after all of this has built up now, I mean, of course, the worst case scenario is that the the volume always dries up and we just go sideways within this range for weeks on end. But if you look back at my post on Twitter, again, I see these all the time in FX. This is like one of my bread and butter trading patterns. This first area of support, this first trouble area for shorts, you tend to kind of see what has happened, where it comes down, creates some sideways, and then drops. And that's kind of what it's done here. So it's dropped down, come up, put in a higher low, puts in a lower high, and now has put in a lower low. So what we'd look for is another lower high, or even a fake out or fake high. And then we get confirmation of that again with another lower low within this series. And then that's kind of your short. This has been enough time now to potentially see a breakdown. I would expect that continuation rather than, you know, when people were getting pretty bearish and excited on this low, thinking it was going to quickly continue. It tends to kind of these days go sideways a lot more. The ultimate test in patience really is when you realize that markets go sideways more than they rip, particularly ones that are worth as much as Bitcoin is nowadays, and how much money it takes to move the market. And if you understand and internalize that markets do indeed go sideways more, you can kind of cross out that FOMO in your brain that pops up, because you'll know from experience that, hey, that first impulse, that first signal from the market, and that kind of first big momentum towards what looks like a breakout is usually just that, just a signal, and just to hold off a little bit more. Wait for the price action to develop until it is completely obvious. This, at that point in time, on 5th of June, was not super obvious that it was going to continue to the downside. But now we've let it build over the past couple of weeks. It's now looking like it's not going to continue up. It's given us plenty of signs to be bearish at present. This high here couldn't push above this high. This one was really key after it dropped back down into the range, and then it started pushing up, and then it ended up wicking at the end of the day back into the range. And then the next candle closed momentum below all of these and these ones here and this big impulsive one. This candle on the 17th of June was like, okay, yeah, we're going down now. Even though it's only gone down to the range low, I do expect to see something like that or something like that. That's what I'm kind of looking for. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. Let's jump onto Ethereum as well, because again, that was a really clean range, and it's actually done exactly what I said so far. Let's just zoom out the picture again just to talk about it. If you weren't here on Friday, then essentially what's happened is Ethereum puts in this all-time high, drops down, puts in another high, but it's a lower high at this point, and then from here creates this big sell-off which takes out all of this price action. So that is the key level right at the extreme of this, and look where price wanted to go to. It wanted to go to the deepest possible place. It wanted to go to the extremes. Caught everyone out because everyone got super bullish, and then it put in a clean AF double top, and then sitting here again, as I said before, if you've got a range that sits at key support levels like this first trouble area for shorts, as we have here, you can see what happens is drops down, tests the range, puts in a fake high, and just as we discussed on Bitcoin, drops back down into the range, pushes up, ranges a little bit more, breaks down, lower high, lower high, boom. So lower high there. Can't break out yet again. And then the fake out. If you can understand this drawing, you are a true G. And this is a really nice price fractal for what we're seeing in the current range. So on Friday, I said, where were we on Friday? What date was Friday? 20th? So it was yet to break out from the range on Friday, but it was testing the bottom. And I said not to gamble on anything until we get a clear sign from the market, we get that signal. And what I had said also was down on H4, if you remember, or if you weren't here, and this is what I said, we had a nice big trend up, and then price retraced a little bit, and then continued to push up, and then just went up and away. all of this price action, which is on the screen now, this big range, was being held up by this tiny little level on the left. That's where the extreme buying was. If you look at it from a supply and demand perspective, where there are more buyers than sellers, it required a huge amount of buying at this point to push price higher, especially above, if we can see it, particularly above this retrace high. So I'd said on Friday what I expected, price to range around and then break to the upside, I didn't say that on Friday, but that's what it did, drop back down into the range. And then I said, if it drops down, that's going to be our signal. What we then want to see is price come back into the range, as I said before, get us another signal from the market that it can't go higher, like this one here, and then maybe look for, again, a series of lower highs, lower lows for a reversal. And then since this has now been consumed, this has been broken, this level has been taken out, you would expect it to be weaker and to break on another retest of it, particularly after loading back up in this range. So if we just look down on H4, I will talk about it on a lower time frame where there are more candles and give a nicer plan. Okay, H4. So this is that range low. So I'm just going to mark that. Okay, so on the range low, what did I say? If there is a cluster, if there is a range sitting on support, major support, as this is, then it's a key level to trade. We also have up here another range, which is the supply zone, which is where the sell-off took place to create these new lows and to break all of this support. This is the origin of it. So I'm just going to draw the extreme of that level because, as I've also said, price tends to gravitate towards those extremes. Now, the real extreme from this level, remember I said about that chain, here is the end of it, and this level here is just a reaction to it. So I would say that if ETH gets back up here, looking for a short between 25.60 and 26.40, looking for, you know, however you look for your reversals, it could be just one big spike and then drops down like that. It could be something that's a bit more choppy, it chops up, and then again just puts in some highs that can't, especially if you see like a third high, that can't push up and then creates a series of lower lows. That could be your reversal signal with momentum to take Ethereum short. And then my target for that, as I said, this will probably break on the next attempt of it. You've got a lot of clear space here. This is very hollow. So I'd be looking at like 1880, this range, something in that, within there. Potentially the middle of that range here, 1788-ish, where the buying took place to come and push this a lot higher. But yeah, that would be my plan on Ethereum if I traded it, which I don't. I expect this first area will probably produce a bit of reaction, maybe a bit of a trap, and then kind of put in an exhausted move somewhere around this point to the deepest level. But this could well be a decent place to trade as well, depending on how it looks and how we get there. But considering the choppy nature of everything, I would expect it to be a bit choppy as well. So yeah, that is Bitcoin and Ethereum. Have you guys got any questions? Are there any charts that you want me to look at? Do you have any trading related questions that are not related to what we've just discussed, mindset stuff or whatever? Yeah, fire away, guys. Let's see what the chat's saying. Still waiting for the 94 area. Yeah, oh, okay, got it. Yeah, okay, so we covered that. What would be the scenario for you to start looking for longs at 94 to 92? I think I did cover it, but just to reiterate, at that point, I would look for something like this. This is cleanish. A kind of pattern that looks like that. So it puts in a range, and you have a series of maybe higher lows and higher highs, or a lower low, then a higher high with a higher low, then a higher high, higher low, boom. Some sort of like W type pattern that signifies a reversal. It does the same for continuations as well. It's just this bit wouldn't be there. It would be like that instead. So if I just draw a range here, it might make a little bit more sense where these yellow lines are. So I'd look for something like that where price has come down, made a new high, made a higher low, made higher highs that kind of were localish, and then another higher low, and then a higher high, which is at this point, which would give me a signal from the market that it's going higher. And then, you know, you could enter on that breakout candle, or you could do as what happened here, where it retraces back into the range and then try and hit the range with a limit order. You know, it's up to you and your style of trading, but that's kind of what I'd look for at 92, 94K, is that kind of reversal pattern like that. Usually at reversal points, the price action moves pretty slow, so you don't want to rush in too early, especially in the search for really tight risk reward. But yeah, that's kind of what I'd look for. Does that make sense? If you take a look on shitcoin charts later, can you take a look on useless? Sort it on your watch list. Useless. What is useless? All right. I mean, I think with these things, you've got to look on a little bit of a lower time frame. I mean, the thing is with charting these is supply and demand. It works on low volume charts, but you can never have the guarantee that the volume is going to be consistent, or it's going to kick up and break out. So like if I marked this range here, for example, you've got several clues. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 different clues in the market that it's going to go up, but it hasn't gone up on a Forex chart, on a Bitcoin chart, Ethereum chart, or something with a lot of volume and a high market cap, where there's a lot of liquidity in the charts. You don't need 10 signals to tell you it's going to go up. I'm sure it will. Like based on just the price action alone, it looks like it's starting to kick up. But look, you've got the higher high, followed by a higher low, followed by a higher high, followed by a higher low, followed by a higher high, higher low, higher high within the kind of context of this swing, a higher low, another higher high, another higher low, and then a kind of higher high, again within the context of this little local price action. And it's looking like it now wants to break to the upside. If this was a chart where I knew there was volume, I would look for sort of breakout and then a retest and then another high high, and then I would long that. But considering the price action, the volume, and the amount of sideways small candles, it's better probably just to buy and hold, isn't it? With these types of things. I personally don't trade these anymore, meme coins. I had a bit of fun with it last year, but I just got let down so much. But yeah, is that what you were kind of looking for? Hello, Visions. You missed all the good shit. But now you guys get the floor and get to ask questions, so maybe that's the good shit. So yeah, anything you want me to look at, any other charts, crypto charts, meme coins, altcoins, Forex charts, stocks charts, although I'd have to go to TradingView for that. So let's keep it to crypto. It's just useless. Yep, it's just useless. And I want to say thank you to everyone that did jump on and stick around and listen to my dulcet tones talk about Bitcoin and Ethereum. But yeah, if you've got any other questions, ask now. Otherwise, we'll say good evening, and I'll put the replay up on the channel so you can rewatch it. But yeah, you can see that Bitcoin and Ethereum are moving pretty nicely now to what we've been discussing. So I think any sort of lower high, particularly around that 106, 107K area, sell weakness, it looks like. But this is not financial advice and not what you should do. It's just purely for educational purposes to track the price action reading and improving your knowledge and strategy building. And while you're all here, make sure you sign up to Watt using my ref link in the description below. It's non-KYC, great little perp deck, so you can connect it to your Phantom wallet or Rabby wallet or whatever wallet you've got in crypto. And they're doing a big airdrop early next year, and they're basing it on the way that Hyperliquid did theirs. So it could be very, very big, particularly if you get in early now and start farming points by just transferring your trading account over onto Watts and trading. Yeah, building up those points and hopefully getting a very big airdrop early next year. Hype next, Joe Apple says. All right, let's look at Hype. See what it did for what we were talking about the other day. So again, we were talking about this level here, weren't we? And it's bounced off it pretty cleanly. So on the daily. Yeah, very similar to Bitcoin, where it looks like the goal for this is back at around 24 to 26. Just getting this all back up. So again, remember what I said, when you've got a support area, let's look on the hourly. Okay, let's look on H4. When you've got a key support level, which is down here on H1, and you have a range that forms this cluster, it's usually a key level, but the way this is pushing up to it, I'd be looking more at this 41, 42 area. Like I said earlier on, where there's a chain, this is the beginning of that chain, reaction, reaction, reaction. So I would look to the end of that chain, which is up here, before being able to make a proper judgment on whether I'm bullish or bearish on it. I would say, considering where we are in the market cycle, considering that it's put in a pretty clean-ish double top, and it's second time back to this level down here, this really key level, which I mentioned on Friday. The same as that Ethereum one, where price just rips up, quick continuation, but this has hit it first time and consumed all of the buying from it, and then it's dropped back down. And typically on an instance like this, on second time back, you would expect a smaller bounce than the first, and then some sort of exhaustion. If you've ever seen the bouncing ball thing where it just comes down like this and then eventually drops through support, that's kind of what I'd look for on Hype. Or, you know, well, first of all, it would look again something like that, like a series of lower highs and lower lows and sell on weakness. Or it could, you know, I could be wrong, and it could flip it, where I would look for, again, a series of highs, higher lows, and then some strength to suggest it's going to go up. But again, where we are in the market cycle and things, I would probably say this looks like on the daily time frame, it's going to round back off and then come down to this 24 to 26 level and then eventually head back up. That's what that pattern suggests to me at this point in time anyway. Okay. Any other questions? Or should I tell you about what again? It's a perp DEX with non-KYC and a big airdrop next year that you can sign up to with my ref link in the description below. Thank you. It's very quick and easy and painless, actually, trading on a perp DEX. Any other questions? What makes you confident the top isn't already in for Bitcoin? Firstly, I'm a bulltard. Typically, Bitcoin, if you go through its history, typically Bitcoin tops out in the November, around 18 months after the halving, and obviously the halving was last May. So it's been about 12 to 14, well, it's been about 14 months or so, 13 months. So I'm looking for November to be the cycle top. Nothing's really shown me so far in this cycle that it's been any different than the others, other than obviously we've got loads more institutions buying. A lot of companies now saying that this is, a viable investment and a viable product, and people are flooding to get into it. But I just think, unless you're a sailor, you're looking at $106,000 for a Bitcoin. You look at it as after every cycle, it normally retraces like 70 to 80%. You'd probably be looking at and going, whilst all these products are coming out, and they usually come out at the top of a cycle or top of a swing, while that all happens, it then loses steam, and then all those products and all those smart money will be looking to buy stuff a lot cheaper, and we tend to always get it. As well as that, this pattern just suggests to me that so far it kind of wants to come down here. Now I'm looking for reversals based on the fact that it's going sideways. It is very slow. It may grind over the summer, and then every time Bitcoin makes a high or a new all-time high, it pushes up pretty violently and then tends to push up enough to use the previous high as an SR flip and then builds a base and continues. Or like in this instance, it takes it and then it's going to retrace to that kind of last line in the sand. And it's from that point, as I said earlier in the video, that's kind of going to be the test for me. I think if it loses that level, if it comes down and wicks it like what it's doing in this range, then that's okay. But if it starts closing below it and then it flips the underside of this level and we get more lower lows, I think we're going to look down towards kind of like 55 to 60K, or 74 at least. So yeah, based on all of that, based on the pattern, I think that all lines up quite nicely, to be honest. We made new all-time high before the halving though. Forward translated cycle argument holding any water. Yeah, that one, again, it's there was a lot of, what's the word? Kind of, everyone looked at Bitcoin earlier on in this cycle and was like, okay, this is real. This isn't going anywhere. And this is just going to keep going up. And more places understood it. And I think genuinely a lot of governments have actually started to look at the state of their economies and their currencies. And I've been in the FX circle for the past 10 years. We've been saying for like 10 years, like every currency is just going to like die. Every currency is going to die at some point. And I think considering the way the world has gone over the past 5 years, a lot more governments are looking at Bitcoin as a way out. And that has led to things like a 6-figure Bitcoin, a new all-time high before the halving. So yeah, like there are things that are different. No cycle is exactly the same, but the overall cycle, the way that altcoins, meme coins, Z-list celebrities came in and ruined everything, the general fatigue from the crypto community, the bad vibes, the constant sideways price action just leads me to believe that things are kind of going exactly the same. And I think it will probably have another hurrah up to about 120K. But, you know, I'd love to see it just continue. Overall, I do see the actual chart, you know, on the weekly chart, if I just get rid of that, is extremely bullish. This is a big demand zone, big range that has bounced price. And I think the worst thing that the worst case scenario is it just comes back down into this range, finds the support, and then pushes up higher. But that's going to that could be, you know, another year or so before that happens. But yeah, overall, I'm bullish. So I look at everything as it always wants the deepest retrace level in a move, and every move is a retrace on a higher time frame bull trend. If you have like bull market, bear market, and you just replace those words with bull trend and bear trend, it is firstly better for your psyche, but also from a trading point of view, you don't get caught up in the fact that it has to keep going down or it has to keep going up. You just look at things swing by swing. And if I look at things swing by swing, this level looks ripe to be hit. If it does just build up from here, then I have a scenario for a continuation where it could like come up, drop back down into the range, but puts a higher low in, and then puts in a higher high, and then I'd start looking for continuations. But that normally happens and looks a bit more like that rather than sideways and lots of small candles and indecision. So when that happens, all the small candles and indecision, I tend to think it's going to look for a lot of strength. And then I think when it comes down here, that's when it catches a lot of people off guard. Excuse me. That's when it catches a lot of people off guard and rips a lot quicker and higher than people realize. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. The double top gives me 2021 cycle high PTSD. Yeah, and it does actually look like that, you know. It's not on, it hasn't got enough data on this exchange, but it does look, that was like the 30, what was it? The 50K high or something, and then it dropped back down to about 30K, didn't it? And then it pushed back up, and then yeah, this does look very similar to that. So yeah, double top. Do you still believe in cycles? And if yes, where do you think we top out? Yeah, I still believe in the cycles. What we always used to talk about, me and Tyler Durden back in the day, was that the only way that Bitcoin can start getting to numbers like 2, 3, 4, 500K is mass adoption and institutions getting in. But the way these institutions get in is really slow, and there's a lot of stuff goes on behind the scenes because they all have a way to position themselves. Like I said, I don't see many wanting to jump in at $103,000 at the top of what you would expect a cycle to be. I think it breaks the cycle when basically it is accepted as currency for major trade, and I have no idea when that's going to be. But on a price action basis, it will break the cycle when it doesn't do, you know, like a 70% drop, and then a 2-3 month sideways bear market, and then starts to slowly trickle up. But overall, I do think, you know, it's very difficult to be bearish on Bitcoin. I just think the worst case scenario is I wrote a tweet about this months ago, and it's not. It sounds like a meme, but it's not. But I don't think we see below 50K on Bitcoin again. If we get the previous cycle 70-80% drop, then it takes us below 50K. But I just don't think we get that, particularly with the amount of investment and institutional interest in it now. I don't think we see below 50K, but I think it could go relatively close to it. But if it doesn't, and then it just stays up here and does what we saw last summer, where it just grinds sideways like this for ages, it could just do that and then push up again. That would be a break in what you'd see the cycles just constantly like that. That's the other way I think it can go. And then it will start looking like SPX. Useless breaking out as we speak, like you predicted 5 minutes ago. So 1 hour, didn't we? There we go. Oh, I lost my, oops. Was it H4? Oh, that's hype, sorry. Useless. I'm useless. Yeah, there you go. Look, it's breaking out of that little range we talked about. So my issue is with meme coins like this, and this is where you take the risk and hold and just stick to your guns. If I'm a trader, do I trust this breakout? No, because there's not enough volume and interest in it. But based on the technicals, if this was to close like this above these highs, then you've got an engulf and you've got a really nice looking chart for a trend. That's quite cool, huh? It's quite nice. That price action is pretty good, for a bullish case. It just depends whether the market picks up and everyone jumps in on it. Okay. Any other questions? Any other charts or anything like that? Which time frames do you usually prefer trading? 1 to 5 minute charts for Forex? Yeah, so I trade intraday. I trade the London session and the pre-New York session on GBP USD. And I therefore use M5 to map out. So how we've been doing on Bitcoin, where I've said like this is in the daily time frame, I would do this kind of stuff on the M5 time frame. And then let's say, prices come down to this low, I would then look down on the M1 time frame for a sign of reversal at that low. So where's that low? So we have this big daily low. Let's do it on M30, it'll be more candles. There you go, that's the, it's just around there. That's the kind of W pattern I'm talking about. This is a really clean example. So then I would say that daily view was M5, and then I'd jump down to M1, and then I'd look for this type of pattern to go long from, because I know at the extreme of an M5 level, and then I'd look to the other extreme of the M5 level to take it to. But this is basically this type of thing I'm looking for. Remember I said that W pattern where it's come down, put in a high, put in a lower low, then it's put in a higher high. But then this instance, it's rounded off, retested, and pushed away. What I like to look for is something a little bit more like this, like a higher low, and then a higher high within this range, and then I expect price to push up and then continue a trend. That's what I look for. But yeah, that's how I trade intraday. And I do the same on Bitcoin, but with 4 hour and M15. Did we do this? Did you guys all run and buy hype after we talked about it? Or was that you, Joe? No, it wasn't. Was it Joe who asked for it? Who asked for it? Who asked for useless? A A1 is it? I can't read A. Yeah, you said it. Why do you prefer higher time? Wait. Why do you prefer higher time frames with Bitcoin? It moves a lot cleaner on higher time frames, and I've also stuck my trading down to just one session, just so I'm not constantly behind the charts. I get fatigue, and I trust with trading Forex, which I've been trading for 10 years. It's going to move within that session. I know its behaviors. I know what it's going to do. I know that if I don't see a trade within 5 hours, I can just come back tomorrow. But I know with my edge that I've built that I'm going to get at least 3 setups a week. With Bitcoin, I don't see them as much within that session. It happens a lot. You get a lot more volatility during the New York session, or the Asia session. But trading GBP in the London session is kind of a no-brainer for me. So I can't trust with Bitcoin. It gives me enough opportunities to trade it intraday. I'd like to. It's something I'd like to get to in the future, but I've got a winning formula with Forex, and yeah, I just prefer it. Let's see how this does. We'll be back on stream next Monday. Let's see how hype has done. Not hype. Well, hype, yeah, but useless. Fartcoin. Everyone's banging on about that as well, aren't they? It just looks done to me. This like based on this price action, everything just kind of looks done to me. All right. Any other questions, or should we call it? Don't forget to sign up for what? My ref link's in the description below. Non-KYC, big airdrop next year, and a super clean design. And they're going to try bring back the BitMEX culture that we used to have, which was great fun. But yeah, I think with the one thing with crypto is when it comes to bear markets, that's the best time to learn to trade, and then you can crush it more in the next bull market. And I think we're kind of heading into that territory now where people need to start learning how to read the charts a little bit better than they know how to, and realize that a lot of what was last year was just missold dreams. You know, because that's not an accurate depiction of what trading and investing is like. Like you look down here at March 25, there's just like, you just don't know that it's going to do that, particularly after it's done that. This is just gamble territory because it could just go sideways forever. And I've seen loads of charts just go sideways forever like that. But it just depends on then like what community picks it up or group of influencers or whatever to start creating some hype, and then look what happens. But that only happens for a sustained period of time usually. But yeah, okay. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. Thanks for all the questions. I will see you guys again next Monday. There is going to be a video, market review video, Monday morning next week. Be about 10 to 15 minutes long, and then we'll do a live stream again. Does your system work as well with both shorts and longs, or do you trust more with like? No, it's all the same, longs and shorts. Same patterns, both sides, just inverted, basically. All right. So yeah, link in the description to sign up to what and farm those points, get your airdrop next year. Enjoy the clean and simple design, grow alongside me, grow alongside them. And we will concentrate on learning how to read the charts, learning to read the story of price, and learning how to trade price action around key levels rather than just floating in the distance, floating in the middle of nowhere, and, you know, losing. We don't want that. We don't like that. It's inevitable, but we can reduce it. All right, guys, take care. See you next time. Bye-bye. And sign up to what?